expectation is an indicator of where you are in your level of faith. So, and faith is just believing God, it's taking God at his word. So if you see something that God has promised and you believe it, but you don't expect to see it, do you really believe it?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of SheCEO Inspires, where we inspire you to be and build all that God has created you to be and build. My name is Yakinea Marie. I help women of faith build and monetize their businesses online. And one of the things we also do is bring you other kingdom-minded individuals to help you do just that. And on today, I have the distinct honor and privilege of dialoguing with one of my sisters in faith. She's also a kingdom entrepreneur. This young lady, she wears a couple of hats. And so today we're going to talk about the power of balance in between ministry and business. Her name is Michelle Moore. She is the founder and CEO of Tuug and Puddi.com, an online clothing store for toddlers. So without further ado, I want to say great day to my sister, Michelle. How are you doing?
I am doing amazing. Thank you for having me on here. I appreciate the invite, and I always love when we get to chat. So thanks for having me on. Well, I am Michelle Moore. I work in full-time ministry with my husband at Faith Chapel. I have 3 adorable, beautiful little brown babies that I love so much. My husband and I, we've been married 8 years. Our girls have a 6-year-old, I have a 3-year-old, and I have a 1-year-old. And I just started 2 years ago, Tuug and Puddi, which I like to call my 4th baby. It's an online girls clothing store, which was inspired by my oldest 2 girls. So that's the bulk of it.
Well, I'll say this right here. I want to, you said a lot, and I love that you talked about your 4th baby because you have 3 adorable. They are so absolutely adorable. Let's talk about balance, because I know you're in ministry, you're an entrepreneur, you're a wife, you're a mother, you're a leader, you inspire and encourage women. So let's talk about the power of balance. I know sometimes people say balance don't exist. I truly believe it does. I believe balance is you choosing to be in the moment of whatever you're doing at that moment and not trying to multitask. So can you just give your definition of balance and what that looks like for you?
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said. I think balance, when people say that balance doesn't exist, they're looking to give equal time and equal attention to all of the things that they're responsible for in their life. And most of the time, that's not possible. What I try and focus on more so than equal time is prioritizing and being intentional with the time that I am spending. So a lot of times we can be pulled in many directions when we're supposed to do one thing. So if I'm supposed to be with my girls, I can have my phone and I can be sending emails and I can be on social media or whatever. But if I'm being intentional, I won't do those things, and I will make quality of that time that I'm spending with my girls, and I will make that a priority. And that's the best way you're going to get balanced, is to be intentional with the time that you are spending and not trying to find equal buckets to do all the things that you have to do.
Okay, so let's stay right there. Okay, let's stay right there. And the reason why I want to stay there, because a lot of times people, they're mad at their children, they regret they got married, they hate they started a business, they're disgruntled about ministry, and it's not that they don't like their family and their ministry and their business. they just haven't made the decision to be intentional, like you talked about. Okay, so because I really want us to deep dive into that, because I truly believe that we can balance it. We may not give the same amount of hours today like we did yesterday, but we can balance it. We may not even do the level of work today like we did yesterday. Like today we may do ministry, but then tomorrow we may not do ministry, right? But when it comes to family, that's an everyday situation. Now you may not spend 3 hours with the kids today like you did yesterday, because you were intentional about that right there. So let's talk about, why is it important because now we're entrepreneurs, and you can tell me whether you ever had this experience. I was trained in business when I first got into business years ago, almost 20 years ago. The leaders, my mentors, they was training us that it's okay to neglect your family for the sake of the success of your business. And we bought into that philosophy, and that was not accurate. You understand? We understand that you may have to make certain sacrifices, but you don't have to neglect your family for the sake of building your business, because that's not even kingdom. Let's talk about that, Michelle.
Yeah, no. Throw that whole idea away. Throw that whole idea away. My girls, these babies didn't ask to come here. They deserve a mom. And so they're going to get that from me. It's about, when I say being intentional, it's about living life and not letting life happen to you. A lot of times people are just walking around. They don't know what they're going to do the next hour. They don't know what they're going to do the next day. They don't have a, hour by hour, day by day plan. And so when you get intentional, you'll see that you have a lot of time to do the things that you need to do. You just have to do it on purpose. And so, and the other thing is you have to have realistic expectations. I think the best expectation that you can have is to continue to be progressive and to move forward and to always do better. So in your business, you may have ultimate goals of, doing whatever, but what is a realistic goal that can even stretch you for this year or for, this quarter? With the time that you have that you can dedicate to it. The same thing with, your kids. What is it that you intentionally want to do with your kids? What is it that you intentionally want to see happen inside of your marriage? If you think about those things and think about what is realistic in the time that you have, then you keep moving forward. And then you get to a place of wherever that is, you continue on your journey, which is what really happens. You don't get there. But you keep moving forward, opposed to just throwing your hands up and saying, I can't get anything done, because you have these big dreams that you can't get done right now. So think progression opposed to, a certain destination. Just continue to move forward and continue to improve as you move forward and be intentional.
Now that's good, Michelle. You talked about progression. You talked about being intentional. You talked about doing it on purpose. You talked about realistic expectation. And all of that is like something you put into a pot and it takes you to your ultimate goal. All right. And so it's one thing that you said that made me think about excuses. All right. It made me think about when individuals feel like they'll never reach their goal because if I didn't have all these children, I probably can spend more time doing XYZ, when that is not even reality, because you have people that have more children than that person and they're reaching their goals. Right? Because they have realistic expectations. They're intentional. They're living life on purpose. And so today's broadcast is about us helping you to understand that you don't have to neglect this in order to have this. You don't have to choose between this or that. You can literally have this and that when you are intentional and you are purposeful. Michelle, let's talk about excuses and why excuses hold individuals back. I made a post today on social media talking about doing what you love to do. And if you don't like doing it, then don't do it. Because why complain about something that you have the power to change? Michelle, do you have anything to say? Well, I know you have something to say about that. So let's go ahead. Let's talk about that.
Excuses, it's a funny thing. I think whenever you're doing anything in life and you're doing anything big, you fall into these little ruts, or you fall into these places where you're like, you get stuck. You feel defeated sometimes, you want to quit, and then it's easy to then make excuses. I totally understand it. A thing that has helped me, or two things mainly that has helped me, is one, always having a why. Always knowing why you're doing what you're doing, and that helps you to press through the hard things. Is it a word from God? Is that your why? Is it a goal that you're trying to accomplish? That's your why. And when you create a why, you need to dig deep. You need to dig deep. Like, don't be surface with it. Don't be because it's just something I always wanted to do. No, 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 no. That is not going to take you through the tough times. You need to, is it legacy? Is it generational, something you want to pass to your kids? Is it, you want to help your mother when they're older, whatever it is, but dig deep inside of yourself and find a why. And that helps you to push through most things. Yeah. So that's one thing that I try and do to help overcome excuses. And the second thing is, when I get into those little places where I'm having a little pity party, I give myself a time limit. Like, okay, I'm gonna let you sit right here for a week. Okay, you sit right here in your feelings for a week, and then after that, we gonna come back. Me and you gonna come back, and I'm just talking to myself. Me and you gonna come back, and we're gonna come up with a plan, and we're gonna move forward, because we just can't, So I allow myself to try and feel whatever it is that you're feeling, because you're real, you're human, you have those emotions, but don't allow yourself to stay there. Yeah. Push yourself to move forward, and then surround yourself with people like that. There are people that you can share. For me, it's my husband. There's people that you can share the deep, intimate things that you're feeling. Your why should be deep and intimate. Your frustrations, when you get to those hard places, they're vulnerable places for you. And when you have a person that you can share those things with, for me, my husband has been a person that can remind me of why. Because when you get into those little valleys, your vision is clouded, your mind is clouded, or whatever, and he helps to keep pushing me forward. And so surround yourself with good people that you trust and that you can be vulnerable with.
That's powerful, Michelle. The reason why I say that is because you said three key points: your why, a time limit, and your association. I hope the listeners are catching what you just said. Your why, when I think of why, is clarity. It's something about when you're not clear, it creates and breeds confusion. It breeds indecisiveness, because one minute you're like, I think I should do this. I think I should do this. I think I should do this. I think I do. Okay. First of all, why should you do it? Personally, I do believe a lot of individuals who are, you could touch on this, Michelle, a lot of individuals that are indecisive or in between, or they say, well, this is my why today. Well, next week I got a different why. Well, see, you're dealing with double-mindedness and confusion. And so we need to go, and we believe in the power of prayer. We believe in asking the Holy Spirit to guide and to lead us. And so, and a lot of times we can't hear the Holy Spirit because our life is too loud, is too busy. All right. And sometimes we need to just shut everything down. And I love when you said that, Michelle, when you talked about you pull away. I do that too. When I get into that place of just, I just stop what I'm doing. I pull away. And that's what I tell my coaching client, just pull away for a second, right? Because you cannot be creative and you cannot hear when you're just frustrated and all over the place. So pull away so you can come to this calm, peaceful, steady place. So let's talk about that right there, because I think it's key for individuals to understand the power of withdrawing. But also when you talked about, I'm like, Michelle is all up in my business, because when you talked about digging deep, one time I asked one of my coaching clients, I said, okay, why are you doing what you're doing? Okay. And they said, well, I'm doing this because I want to be financially free. And then I said to them, that's surface. That's not really the reason why you're doing what you're doing. And so normally I ask them about 3 or 4 questions that cause them to dig deeper. So, okay, if you want to be financially free, why do you want to be financially free? Well, because I want my family to experience a life of XYZ. Okay, so how do you think that'll make you feel? How do you think that will make your family feel? Why do you want your family to experience this? Well, the reason why I want my family to experience this is because, you understand? Does that make sense, Michelle?
Yeah, that's it. That's the process right there. What you just said. You know, once you get that first layer of why, then ask why for the why. Okay, why that? Why did I say that? And then when you get that answer, then ask why about that. That's how you go deeper and deeper and deeper until you get to that place of, I gotta do this. Like, if I don't do anything else before I leave the earth, this I gotta do. That is when you've gotten to the why. That is when you've gotten to that why, and that will drive you. That will drive you to get stuff done that you didn't think you could get done.
Let's talk about boldness.
Okay.
I love when you said, wait, hold on for a second. I love when you said this right here. It takes a level of courage. It takes a level of faith. It takes a level of expectation. It takes a recipe of a few things that drive you forward to do the very thing that you know that you are impregnated to do, in spite of fears, in spite of naysayers, in spite of a lack of support, in spite of limitations. Let's talk about that. And then you shared a testimony with me regarding your own personal company and what happened. And one of the things I shared with you, I was so impressed with, that you adjusted. You didn't quit. You didn't pause. You didn't sit your company down just because some things shifted. You adjusted your efforts and you began to make it work on your behalf. So I know I asked you like 2 or 3 things, but let's talk about all of those at once. You understand? And let's inspire the people.
Boldness is key. Boldness a lot of times goes back to confidence. And what I am learning in business, because it's still new for me too, what I'm learning is that when you're coming from being an employer to being an entrepreneur, it requires a different version of yourself. And a lot of the things that make you successful in business is not necessarily the skill of the trade. A lot of it is that internal work. And when you are shy and not bold, you're afraid, you deal with fear. A lot of that comes back to some type of confidence thing that you need to work out, some kind of self-image issue that you need to go back and dig through and work through and do work really on yourself to be able to do the things that it is that you need to do and that you know that you're supposed to be doing. And what was that second thing we were talking?
She said, what was that second thing? Girl, listen, my mind is like, what was that second thing? That was so good what you just talked about. Well, listen, let's because I have a passion to see individuals overcome the internal debilitating mindsets, feelings, emotions that hold them back. Why do I say this, Michelle? Because I remember dealing with these debilitating beliefs that caused me. A lot of times it's not even the people outside of us, right? That's influencing our lack of movement. It's us. It's this demonic chatter that comes in our mind that we come into agreement with, and it causes us to procrastinate yet another day. Okay. And so this is why it's necessary for us to get in the word. This is why it's necessary for us to have virtual mentors and these are people you never will meet, but you're reading books, you're listening to audios, like Dr. Mike Moore, our pastor, you understand, and or connected with mentors or coaches or associations that move you and shift your mindset. One of the best things people can do is add to their association. Believe God for divine connections, not demonic connections, not just some to-do connections. I'm talking about connections that add value to you and you add value to them. Because the only way we can shift our mindset, Michelle, you can talk about this, the only way we can shift our mindset to go from one place to another, and you mentioned that it takes a different person. If you have been an employee all of your life and now you decide to step over into business, it will take another person. Okay. Now you can utilize some of the skill sets from that employee season. Why? Because as an employee, come on, talk to me about this, Michelle. As an employee, we are trained to go to work, whether it's rain, sleet, snow, heat, it does not matter. We are trained to show up. Period. But when we get in business and we're self-employed, we make excuses. I work from the house. I'm going to lay down in the middle of the day when you know you should be working, and you couldn't do that if you was at a job, right? And so it trains us to give our business the same effort, energy that we will give to someone else's job, right? But it still takes another level of person. That's why personal development is key. Michelle, let's talk about this.
Yeah, it's so crucial. Even for those who are not trying to be an entrepreneur, but you might be trying to grow inside of your company, it requires another version of you. It requires another level of you. So you should always be looking to grow. You should always be looking to expand. And again, I'm not talking about skills. Like, that's, I'm going to say obvious, but really you have to grow in the type of person that you are. You got to grow in confidence. You have to grow in, like you said, boldness. You have to grow in seeing yourself a certain kind of way. A lot of times you won't ask for things just because you don't think you're worthy of it. Now you're not just walking around thinking, oh, I'm not going to negotiate that contract because I don't feel worthy. Those are not the words that run through your mind. Or it might be something like, oh, well, they ain't going to blah, 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 blah. Or no, they wouldn't, partner with me, or they win this, or they win that. That is a sign that it's confidence level thing. If you put a product together, or you put a package or service together, and it's adding value at a certain level according to the marketplace or whatever, why wouldn't it apply to you and what you're doing in your business? And it won't, because you won't ask for it because of what you're dealing with on the inside. So you got to know who you are. You got to know that you're great. You got to know that you're loved. You got to know that, you got to pray about your business and know that God has your business's back. And that takes time. That takes work. That's breaking stuff off of you. That takes time. And that's the real work. That's the hard work.
As you were speaking, I was thinking about one of the things that helped me overcome fear. Not saying fear still don't try to come, you understand, but I'm not paralyzed by fear like I used to be back in the past. So one of the things that helped me, the more that I began to execute on things that would cause me to be afraid, it gave me another level of boldness. Also, preparation increases your confidence as well. And so I can say study, me working on me buying books on rejection, me buying books on faith, me really deep diving in those particular areas, the areas that I felt depleted in or defeated in. I began to eat books and CDs on those areas to help me overcome those feelings. And I executed on them in spite of how afraid I was. I remember I used to be afraid to do public speaking. Can you believe it? I tell people I'm an introvert. They don't believe. You don't believe me?
I can't believe it. Look, you all the way over there.
But I remember when I public spoke, and I was terrified. And because I was so afraid and I was so into my head, I was stuttering, I was all over the place. And I promised myself, I said, this will never happen again. So I remember writing out my speech. It was about a 45-minute presentation. I remember writing out my speech. I would stand in front of the mirror for like 45-minute cycles. And I would do the presentation from the beginning to the end. And I did this for multiple times every single day because I was determined I was going to overcome that feeling of fear that paralyzed me. And so I had to train myself. When you get in front of the room, don't look at their faces. Don't allow somebody that have their arm folded to throw you off. Don't allow someone walking out or coming in to distract you, because I used to be so easily distracted. So I had to train myself to overcome that. and so thus, over the years, it just gave me a larger platforms to speak on. And it's not even about the size of the platform that I spoke on, whether I was speaking to one person or 1,000 people. I was terrified, right? It's overcoming the very thing that causes you to freeze up when you know you have the gift inside you to do whatever God has called you to do. So Michelle, let's talk about, in closing, let's talk about expectation. Why is expectation so huge in receiving what God has for us? It's already done, but a lot of times because we have lack of expectation, it holds us back. One of my girlfriends shared this with me when I was in one of those low-level thinking seasons. And she said to me, she said, listen, she said, God will meet you at your expectation. If you don't expect nothing, you can expect to receive nothing, right? Let's talk about that, Michelle.
Well, that's just it. God will meet you at the level of your expectation. When you are doing the work, and you don't you're doing the work, you're praying, you're believing God, but you don't expect anything. Are you really believing? Are you really believing God for the thing that you are praying about? Are you really believing God for the promises that you read and that you're standing on if you don't expect it? Is it true or is it not? So he's gonna meet you. Expectation is an indicator of where you are in your level of faith. So and faith is just believing God, it's taking God at his word. So if you see something that God has promised and you believe it, but you don't expect to see it, do you really believe it? You have to really ask yourself that, and you got to be honest with yourself, so that you can see it.
Hold on for a second. Because you just dropped the mic and walked off the stage. That was powerful. I'm sitting here like, did she just break the expectation down like that? That was really good.
Well, praise God.
You talk about your expectation basically is a measuring tool for your faith. Your expectation, it actually, because people will talk, you can talk a good game, but what are you really expecting from God?
Yeah.
That's strong, Michelle.
He can handle you believing it. He just needs you to believe. And when you believe, you're going to expect it. Because you know it's coming. He's a man of his word. So, that's a done deal. That's done.
That's good right there. Listen, any closing words that you would like to, because that right there, you really just showed out with that one. But any closing remarks that you would like to share with our audience, and then share with them how they can connect with you online, and then also give them your website as well.
Okay. Yeah. Well, closing remarks. Again, I just want to say thank you for inviting me on here. I always love chatting with you. For your listeners, I just pray God's best for you and your business and whatever it is that you're putting your hands to, and keep going. Operation Improve While You Move. That was something one of my dear friends, Melinda White, said a long time ago, and I just love it. Improve while you move. Don't let the issues, the obstacles, the challenges that you see or that you may be experiencing cause you to be stagnant. Keep moving and keep improving while you move, because there's always going to be another level to go to. So that is what I want to leave with your listeners. As for me, you can connect with me. I'm on Instagram. My name is Michelle Scott Moore on Instagram, and also on Facebook, it's Michelle Scott Moore. And my business is on Instagram and Facebook as well. It's Tuug and Puddi, TUUGAND PUDDI, on both Instagram and Facebook. And the website is www.tuugandpuddi.com.
Well, listen, I have been extremely blessed by my sister, Michelle Moore. Thank you again for blessing our viewers and our audience. And I'm just excited. I'm excited about this dialogue, this conversation. And I just appreciate you, my sister.
I appreciate you. I love you so much. Thank you.
Love you right back.
Mwah.